The other day I watched this video on TikTok and she made a really interesting point when she was starting off her video. She was saying like, and I'm paraphrasing here, but she's like, I can't stand when I hear people go, you know, I deserve this or I deserve that, like I deserve respect. And then she continued on to say, you have to earn your way in a room. The whole point of her video was proper etiquette, reminding people that, you know, this is how you act when you're in someone else's house and so on and so forth. It was really funny. But yeah, she had a point. It's like, no, actually, nobody deserves anything. You really do have to earn your way in a room or an industry or in the workforce. Like, that's just the reality of life. People want to know what you're about. You don't just walk in and assume that everyone's going to have respect for you. No matter what your political ideologies are, no matter how kind you think you are, it doesn't matter. You have to earn your way. And it's so fucking true. And I think people forget that. Anyways, what does this have to do with me having an awful time at a coffee shop the other day? This has happened a few times now. And this one particular incident I'll just share. This was last week. So I went to a coffee shop I had never been to before. And I'm not going to name the coffee shop because I think it's one-sided drama. I think it's just me projecting because of how rude the barista was. But I'm not going to name the coffee shop. And I'm not going to say where it was either, because I don't want people connecting the dots. However, I went into a coffee shop. It was empty. There was nobody in there. It was just me and the barista. And right away, I felt hostility. I can't explain it. It's just her aura was like, she was not having a good day, clearly. Either way, there was no line because nobody was in there. So I ordered my latte and she didn't catch what kind of milk I wanted the first time, which is fine, whatever. I was like, so I had to repeat myself to her because nobody was there. My coffee was ready in a timely manner. So I appreciated that. And so I had a little bit of work to do. So I sat down and I had to jot some notes for this project that I'm creating for a client. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is sat there, I took out my notebook and I'm just like writing. And then all of a sudden, the music in the shop goes off. Like she just turns off the music. And then she proceeds to call her friend. So this whole time I'm like engulfed in her personal conversation. Okay, I'm not gonna say what she was talking about, but my assumption, you know, turned out to be correct. She's not having a good week at all. 1 minute into taking my first sip, I know this girl's like life story because she's just pacing around the shop talking to her friend. And I was like, I came here to relax. I paid $7 for a latte. It was mid. It wasn't that great, but whatever. Like, I'm not gonna hold it against them because I had never been there before. I'm probably never gonna go back. I'm okay with like having a shitty latte every now and then. But I'm like in this girl's conversation. I can't focus now because again, I went there to work on some stuff. If the music was loud and she was having a conversation, that's one thing because it's kind of muffled, but it's like there's no music, it's really awkward, and I'm in her conversation. You feel me? It was not cool, man. It was just not cool. It was kind of annoying, actually. So I put my notebook away. I got no work done, which whatever. And I just sat there and I started eavesdropping. So this went on for about like 10-15 minutes. And then someone else walks in to the coffee shop. She hung up the phone real quick, put the music back on. That was not cool because I'm paying as well. So like, what the fuck, you know? But anyway, she put the music back on for this other person. She made their drink and then they take their drink and they leave. During that moment, I was like, oh, cool, the music's back on. I take my notebook out and slowly I'm re-entering flow state, right? And then that person gets their drink, they leave, the music turns off again. And I'm like, what the fuck? At this point, I just feel disrespected. You know what I mean? So that's why I say it's one-sided drama because it's like they're in their own world, whatever, but it's like, dude, that's not cool. I'm in her fucking conversation again. I'm getting ready to put my shit away and then she proceeds to ask her friend on the phone, like, so what are you up to? And I guess her friend had to go. They hang up and then she puts the music back on and singing really loud. Again, it's fine because the singing, the music, that frequency is a little easier for me to deal with, but it's just the loud conversation, the no music. I was like in your convo, dude, you know? So I don't know. It's a very petty little story time, But the point I wanted to make is me as a paying customer, I'm gonna walk out and I'm gonna tell all my friends to avoid this place. You didn't respect my space as a paying customer. And I also witnessed you respecting someone else's space, but not me. It took me back to that video that I opened with, you know, like that girl talking about proper etiquette, especially when you're working in customer service. That's another thing. Customer service, I understand like the quality of life within the workforce. I've talked about this so many times on my TikTok. Like that's declined rapidly. Like people are not happy at work, specifically like minimum wage jobs. And I don't blame them. It's hell right now. So it's unpleasant. If anything goes wrong in their personal life, they're obviously going to express that at work because the mentality is very much like, who gives a fuck about this job at the end of the day? It's just a job. It's not my career and I'm having a bad time and I'm going to express that at work, you know? I feel like it goes both ways too, because if someone walked in and they're probably in a similar situation and you're taking it out on them, it's just that constant frequency of like negativity and spreading all this negative vibes throughout our society. That person's gonna complain because, oh, they were rude to me and I had a fucking tough week. You never know what people are going through at the end of the day. Like, you don't know. I haven't gone to a coffee shop in like 4 months, dude. And I had the intention of, oh, okay, well, I wanna go and catch up on some work there. I paid $7 for a latte just to not have a good time. And it's the energy, man. It was disrespectful. I felt disrespected. So it's like, oh, this is why I don't go to coffee shops anymore. Like, what's the fucking point when I can have like peace and quiet at home? And I'm struggling myself. Like in my personal life, and a little bit of kindness could have gone really far. And so it's just kind of sad that we treat each other like this now. One treats someone like shit, and then the other goes and vents about it, and then it's just like constant ugh, while the state of the world is just crumbling. You get what you give. If you're kind to someone, a stranger, personal beef is another story. Like, people have issues and we're all human and we're not all perfect. But if you're going into an establishment, a little bit of kindness can go a long way. Like, you never know. I remember when I worked at a boutique, all the connections I made working at that boutique. This was years ago. But those connections really changed my life as I got older. Little tiny boutique I worked at, because I was just alert. You know, I didn't treat people who walked in like they're nothing. This is a potential connection I can make. That's a potential connection I can make. Like, I just looked at it as opportunities. So I treated this tiny little small mom and pop owned, well, it was a woman who owned this boutique, but I treated that store like a door of opportunities. And so it's all perspective, really. You never know. And I feel like in coffee shops, you meet all kinds of people that walk in there. You know, some are doing really well in life. You never know. You just never know. It takes one opportunity to change your entire life. And so I just don't see how people don't see it that way. Again, I can understand they're not going through a good time in life, but sometimes you gotta just try to snap out of your own world for a second and like look around you and look at all these endless opportunities that could be. I don't know, that's how I see things. Yeah, the other day I applied at a job just to socialize more, just to connect more. And that job in particular, beneath my pay grade, but I want to socialize more. I want to be in that part of town talking to people, you know. I'm sure I'll get it, because again, it's beneath my pay grade. It would be really cool to just talk to people a few days out of the week. Like, that's how I see it. Some people, it is more so like, okay, this is survival, and like, I fucking get that. I'm surviving too, by the way. Like, I get it. Perspective is everything. You know, being nice to the right person can change your life. You never know. It happened to me several times. Anyways, I just wanted to come here and vent. This was my little coffee shop story time.